Welcome. It's to the Board of County Commissioners meeting of March the 12th, 2019. Commissioner John Hutchings, Chair of the Board, and to my left is Vice Chair Commissioner Gary Edwards. To my right is Commissioner Ty Menser. To his right is Clerk of the Board Whitney Pearsall. To her right is County Manager Ramiro Chavez. To his right is Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell, and to her right is Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Elizabeth Petrich. So welcome, and with that, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Chair Gary Edwards, or whomever.
And I, in turn, would like to ask Council Member Mike Stedman from Lacey City Council, please.
Everybody care to join me in our salute or Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for today?
Yes, I would move to approve the Tuesday, March 12th, 2019 agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. We have an agenda. Now we're moving on to presentations in the agenda. And the first one is Public Defense. We have Patrick O'Connor gracing us today. Come on up, Patrick. Good afternoon.
Again, good afternoon, Commissioners. Patrick O'Connor, the Director of Thurston County Public Defense. It's my great honor here today to introduce to the board two of our newest employees. Christine, if you'll come on up. I'd like to introduce Ms. Christine Gary Black. Christine joins us from the state of Florida. She is one of our newest attorneys. She's going to be representing clients in district court. Christine is a veteran of public defense. She served the great state of Florida for a little over a decade in one of their circuits, specifically Key West. And as I just told Christine, she's new to our area. The snow is not something we normally deal in that in that volume. But Christine's a graduate of the University of Mississippi School of Law, and we are thrilled to have her. This is Ms. Christine Gary Black.
Wow, welcome.
Welcome, yes.
Very nice to meet you all. Nice to see you today.
Have you ever seen it snow on the beach?
Actually, I grew up in the Northeast, so I've dug my way out of a few snowstorms, but I've been in the Keys for the last 20 years and up here for about 18 months, almost 2 years.
Well, just a couple of weeks ago, the county manager and assistant county manager and Ty and I were at Ocean Shores, and it snowed on the beach. That is weird.
I was saying, I think I've been led astray about your moderate climate here. I'm not so sure. We'll have to wait till next winter to see.
Fine, moderate. Well, welcome to the county.
Thank you very much.
Nice
I'm very
addition.
happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Now I'd like to introduce our second attorney that we've just joined our department. This is Will Tronsden. Thanks, Will.
Did Will have to come as far?
Will did not come this far. He came from Yakima, Commissioner Edwards, and he's actually a native to our area. So welcome back to our area is probably in order. Will's been at the Yakima Public Defender's Office, and prior to that, he worked with the federal defenders up in Seattle and the University of Washington's Innocence Project. And prior to that, Will was an intern in our office. So Will will also be representing clients in our community accused of crimes in our district courts, and I'd ask you to welcome Will.
That's a good project. Innocence Project is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It really is.
I really enjoyed it.
Okay, will you pull the mic way up to you and say something?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I'm happy to be here, happy to be back home. This is where I'm from, so it's good to be back.
Well, welcome home. When's starting date? Was it already a week ago or so? Last week? Welcome.
Well, thanks.
And you're working for a good man. You are. Any questions or
We
comments?
go to the same barbers.
Yeah, we do. My bathroom.
Anything to say? No. Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Are we going to see you folks then tomorrow at the new employee orientation? Yeah, that's the right answer, yeah. Unless you're in court, of course. All right, thank you. Next is presentation on High Impact Community Grant Awards. And we have Kat Santana.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Commissioners.
Pacific Mountain Workforce Development is pleased to present
Thank you.
this year's High Impact Community Grant Awards. High Impact Community Grant for youth and young adult help in employment preparation and training. This grant focuses on serving our youth in highly rural and remote areas. This year, our awards are twice what they normally are. We have $100,000 being split up between our workforce development region in the 5 counties of Lewis, Mason, Thurston, Pacific, and Grays Harbors counties. These projects, when everything is culminated, will have served 2,160 youth in different training opportunities. Career-connected learning is a way to get youth the opportunities that prepare them for high-demand, high-wage jobs, and by that we mean family-sustaining jobs. The project supports, in part with high-impact community grant, include job shadows, on-the-job work experiences and internships, industry tours, activities that increase awareness around apprenticeship, CTE, and STEM careers, field science in our national forests, instructional worksite learning, career preparation workshops, career fairs, adult mentorship, and more. Today, we have 4 recipients of the High Impact Community Grant here, first in Thurston County. The first award, it goes to Thurston, for Thurston County is is going to be Yelm Community Schools. I have Terry Pablo, who is the CTE director of the schools. They're going to be receiving $2,000. I'm going to have Terry come up and just speak for a moment on her project so that you can hear what they're going to be doing with the funding they're receiving. Terry?
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be
Will
selected.
you introduce yourself, Terry?
Oh,
for the
sure.
record?
I'm
Thank you.
Terry Pablo with Yelm Community Schools.
Thank
I'm
you.
the CT director and the communications director for the district. The grant that we applied for is really an opportunity for us to start with our freshmen and get them excited about careers and opportunities in the future. We have, for the this will be our 3rd year, but we're working to expand an opportunity where our 9th grade get to meet with community members and go through a mock interview experience. And so they get that first opportunity to build their resume, create a cover letter, and go through an interview process with a business partner. And we usually look between 50 to 60 people who come in and biz partner with us. And so that's a really awesome opportunity for businesses to connect with schools and see what's going on. I think that education and business partnership is really what grows the opportunity for kids to go directly into our workforce. And so we'll be doing that along with expanding into a job fair. And so our partnerships with Thurston County Chamber, Olympia Master Builders, and the City of Yelm will all help us in achieving this goal.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Now, when you're done, you have others to talk about, and we'll have everybody then come up for a photo op.
Yes,
Okay.
we brought giant checks too.
Yep,
So
and
we'll have fun with that.
we'll have some comments too as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
The second award we have goes to Big Brothers Big Sisters of Southwest Washington. I have with me Jill Kavlock and Jeff Engel to receive their award of $2,000.
Nice. You coming up later, Jeff, or what? You coming up later? Okay.
Hi, my name is Jill Kavlock. I am the Chief Operating Officer for Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I want to thank Pack Mountain for the opportunity to apply for and receive a high impact grant. We are going to work with students at Tenino High School with offering workplace development skills training. And so there's 4 different modules that we'll be going through with the students. They will, they're interactive, so they'll be doing some small group information, small group sharing, and then some planning. When they're completed, they will receive a gift card for their participation. We'll also bring in industry experts from the local community to talk about their careers and their career path, what their education was like, what their goals were, and how they actually were able to succeed in the industry that they had chosen to go into. So thank you again, and we're excited to do that. We'll be serving about 30 high school students at Tenino High School.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jill. Our third award goes to Thurston Community Youth Services, and I believe we have Liz here today to accept. Wonderful, Liz Coker. The award for Community Youth Services is for their project in the amount of $20,000.
Wow.
My name is Liz Coker from Community Youth Services. I'm the grant writer, and I'm accepting on behalf of our CEO, Derek Harris, and also on behalf of the program director, Jason Lucarelli, who could not be here today. So I'll just say this. The program itself, Youth Build, serves 30 young people a year who have not finished college or their GED, and what it does, and who face other challenges to education and employment as well. And what it does is it is an intensive 2-year program that combines work experience with high school or college completion, and very high success rates. And I want to say I've only been at Community Youth Services for 2 months now, and this was the first proposal that I worked on. The first week, it was due after I'd been there for 4 days. And I came to work here because my background is social services, and I really wanted to work for a nonprofit. I was very impressed by Community Youth Services, and particularly by the Youth Build program. It's really one of our best ones right now, and the outcomes are great. So thank you very much.
One heck of a grant
I
writer.
have some brochures. Excuse me?
I said, you're one heck of a grant writer. Gee.
It was one that you have to be quick. That's what I'm learning today.
Well, that's
Thank you.
wonderful. So go ahead. Kat, you have more to say?
I have one more.
Yes. That's right. That's right. Yep. Grub.
I would like to add also another wonderful piece about the project is the immediate investment back to community, where the youth will be building 4 tiny homes, which will be then donated to the Plum Street Village. The final award goes to Grub, Garden Raised Bounty. Grub put in a combination of funds to serve both Mason and Thurston County. This morning I had the pleasure of awarding to Grub $14,500 in Mason County. Today their award for the combined efforts for Thurston and Mason here in Thurston County is $12,000 for a grand total of $26,500 for their project. And with me, I have Wade Uweta to go ahead and talk about that.
Thanks, Kat. And I'm looking up at the board members, and I think, John, you were my DARE officer in eighth grade at Jefferson Middle School.
I stand in your shadow. Thank you.
I guess there's some credit to be given to you. I'm here. We're accepting this award on behalf of our awesome team that had a lot of moving parts to get this application in, and Kat was so helpful along the way to get us to this point. The biggest thing we're doing right now is we've done teen empowerment job training program since 1999. I was a part of the second summer ever in 2000, so I have the awesome honor of coming back to Grub as a staff member and leading this program. We've transitioned, and so now we're partnering with Gravity, our region's GED preparatory school. And so we're exclusively offering our positions to folks who are going to Gravity, trying to finish up their GED before they turn 21. And every season, we hope to serve anywhere between 15 to 25 youth, and putting them through the same kind of program that we've always done, and it's based on our small 3-acre farm here in West Olympia. And so we're serving folks in Thurston County, but also folks from Mason County. You know, youth are really hungry for this kind of opportunity where it's like a one-stop shop for getting their GED, but also the job training, and they get income as well. And it all ties back into community work, so the foods go into really good people. They get to learn how to be self-sustainable as well. And so our tried and true program is alive. It just looks different. Our partner is different, but it's a new, exciting partner. And this grant is going to really help us launch our first inaugural year of this program. So thank you all.
Way cool.
Yeah.
Do you still have your DARE shirt?
If I had it, it would not fit.
That's kind of you to say that, though. You're a good pillar of society, of our community. Thank you, Wade.
Yeah, thank you.
So in closing, before our photo op, I just wanted to say that on the 27th of February, I was able to meet with our local legislation in STEM Advocacy Day at the Capitol with Capital Region STEM Network, and in giving the opportunity to share with our local legislators the wonderful work that's being done within our region, and we had just overwhelming support. Our goal was to push through Career Connected Learning, which is, again, $50,000 towards this particular grant is from that funding for the Career Connect Washington Task Force. So we're really happy to be able to ask for it again and be able to share about the work that's being done for our youth and young people in the region.
Wonderful. Any comments, questions?
No, thank you. Thanks for all you coordinate and what everybody else does, I guess. Yes, thank you.
Wonderful work.
Same thing. Yep.
Well, for what you're doing in Yelm for the kids, and in Tenino for the kids, and CYS, where's my CYS? For the kids, yep, and community at large, and the same with Wade and Grubb. We thank you very, very much, because we can't do, government can't do it. It's going to take you folks getting it done. So thank you very much for all that you do, and I'm proud of all you winning this award.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I just mention one thing? I think
No.
Big Brothers Big Sisters has a annual lunch coming up that kind of anybody that can get involved, that wants to get involved, huh? Over at the
If
hotel.
you're going to say
RL.
something, Jeff, you got to
Okay.
get to the mic. Say it. Go ahead and say it, Gary. Hotel RL.
Okay. Oh, well, no. We'll hear it first. We'll hear
Here
it
we go.
firsthand. Come on. It's a good cause.
I'm good at making people talk.
Well, good afternoon. Thanks for having us. I'm Jeff Engel. I'm the executive director of Big Brothers Big Sisters. And Gary, you're correct. We're having our big brunch, which is going to be over here at Hotel RL just down the street on March 14th from 11 to 12:30. And what we're going to do a little bit different this year is we're going to have a lot of our bigs and littles there. And our guest speaker is going to be a former little who's now an attorney here in town. And then we'll have a video on a big and a little that's just going to bring you to tears. I mean, just a terrific story. A little boy being raised by his great-grandmother.
Oh, geez.
And so be careful what you wish for when you're a grandparent, because you may be raising a kid someday. And we have a lot of grandparents that are doing a terrific job. So thanks for the plug.
Wow.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us. And
Anybody
also
else
thank you
need a
for the
plug,
award.
though, that was an award winner? Got to be fair and equal. Okay. All right, let's get a picture. Can we get the award winners up? Thank you. Award recipients.
I know, that's the part that's terrible about this, to take the money back. Yeah, like you.
We'll get it all. It'll all fit somehow. We'll make it.
There we go.
One, two, three. One more.
How much are we getting out of that? We get enough to go to dinner or anything? Okay, thank you. I just thought we'd give you a little plug. Yeah.
I won't do it, but just want to keep you in. I already wrote his name down. Oh, you did? I figured you would. Jeffy, I'm sorry, Jeff? Jeff. Will you shut the door, please? Thank you, sir. All right, that brings us to item number 1 on the agenda. And this is an opportunity for the public to address the board. And my cheat sheet's gone. Is it up here in your pile
Oh,
of
I
stuff?
do not have it. I do
I'll see if I can do it by
sir.
memory.
I have a copy for you, Commissioner.
Oh, thank you. Rules of engagement. Everybody is, that's willing to speak, and I have the sign-up sheets here, and we'll go in order, and I will call your name, and then who's up next. You're on the ready, and then when you come up to speak, I'll have you introduce yourself for the record, please, and where you live, and then the clerk of the board, Whitney, will start the clock at 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes. At the end, you hear a chime. That means you're done. If you're mid-sentence, you can finish your sentence, of course. But you cannot donate your time to another person. And this is the part of the commission meetings, or actually the part of the commission, meeting, where we don't talk. It's your time to address the board. So we don't engage in debate, discussion, question and answer, opinion. We just be quiet and listen. And then staff, though, depending on the issue, may report back or do follow-up and report next week on the on issues that come up. So if you're limited to 3 minutes, said that. You cannot donate your time to another speaker. We reserve the right to restrict a person's opportunity to address the meeting for a good cause. Please, if you haven't, please silence your cell phones. No comments that are lewd or offensive to a reasonable person. We ask you please be respectful, and no outbursts or boos, applause, that type of stuff. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as a promotion for a for-profit business. No comments that are inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory. Any materials that you provide, you can provide to the to our council to the county manager, assistant county manager over here, and that becomes public record, and it is subject to the Public Records Act, Chapter 42.56 of the RCW. And any remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could eventually come before the board on appeal are not allowed either. Thank you very much for your participation and cooperation. And we'll start with Ed Kenny, followed by Amy Malik.
I am Ed Kenny, and I'm a retired teacher from Rainier High School, and I live out on Pisna Road, just off Bald Hills Road. Well, first and most importantly, what I want to do is just thank you guys. I think you have saved us from a land use problem out my way. You know, I just talked to Commissioner Hutchins, and it's still being talked about in ecology, but basically there was a waste hauling company that wanted to spread sewage solids and biosolids out near my place. And Commissioner and I, Edwards and I, we heard about it at the Nisqually River Council meeting, and we both attended a later public hearing. And the letter that you folks at your staff wrote, specifically Art Starry and Kevin Hansen and two other folks I don't know, was amazing. It was really comprehensive, and it brought up like 95% of the weaknesses of this proposal to spread waste near our place. And some of the ladies in attendance live right next to the site. So just thanks. It was incredible. I haven't seen a county government offer a letter of that quality in response to a rural issue since I've been here. I've been here since 1979. So I'd like to introduce you to our current problem, which I'm kind of passing on to you, I guess. I'd like you to find your own way to solve it. But our problem is that as a part of your code, let's see, 24.10.080, you allow biosolids as a result of an agreement with ecology, but I think that agreement is now out of date. I'm not sure it's been renewed since 2012. So I hope you get your best minds together among environmental health and maybe some lawyers involved and see how to save us from another occurrence like this. Our problem is that the way the ecology program works now with these waste haulers, they don't give you public notice. Nobody that lives near the site had notice. I don't know if you guys got notice. I don't think we did. They're required to give you notice. The newspaper out our way, Nisqually Valley News, they didn't get any notice. The environmental groups out there didn't get any notice. So it puts us in a rough problem. So this company that's going to spread the waste, they were just disciplined by the Pollution Control Hearings Board at the same time, and we have a public records request, which has not been fulfilled yet, at the same year that they were being disciplined for adding dangerous waste to the residential biosolids for 19 years of ecology oversight. At that exact same year, they were filling out the permit for our area. And it was a 5-year permit. And as your staff pointed out, it's not really site-specific. There's a general permit and then the site-specific, which has no information. So your staff picked that up. But what can citizens do about a program like this? We heard about it, and your staff had, I think, maybe 2 weeks to write about it. So we'll have another speaker come up and probably give you more information on what's possible. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So Amy Malik, followed by Susie Kyle. Nope. Oh, you're not speaking. Okay, let me look at the box that you checked no. Okay. Thank you. Michael Stedman, counselor, and Mike Wright.
Michael Stedman here, City of Lacey resident. I got a long prepared thing, so I'm just going to jump right into it. I've served on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee 3 of the last 4 years, and was recently appointed by the committee after a 1 year, or reappointed to the committee after a 1 year absence. I'm very pleased to have been nominated and supported by the committee to be chair, and I'm humbled by my peers on this group to serve in that role. I watched a video last week regarding a letter that myself and Vice Chair Renee Sinclair submitted to the board, and I'm here today to clarify and paint a clearer picture of some of the key points. Many of the members on the committee believe they have been neglected, and diversion education is no longer a priority. We identified 2 key topics in the Solid Waste Advisory Committee should have been at least consulted, in which Olympia Advanced Organics program and the RFP regarding our transfer station and waste export agreement. Staff indicated that the commission had been briefed multiple times regarding the contamination of Olympia's organics. However, at no time was this issue discussed or raised with SWAC. We were unaware of this change until well after the fact. The City of Olympia Public Utilities is a significant partner in solid waste system, which provides nearly 25% of solid waste going into our transfer station. City of Olympia has a very ambitious goal of achieving zero waste, in their advanced organics program was a significant partner, part of this program. The city and SWAC should have been consulted more on this change. It would have, in regards to RFP, which there's never been a briefing or a conversation at the SWAC meeting, SWAC regarding this process. There's been no transparency to this process, which is troubling and has been mishandled by staff. I agree fully that it is not our role to manage the process. However, we do have a significant role that is clearly spelled out in our CWs to advise, review, and comment, which we are never given the opportunity. I went back and reviewed the briefing of the commission regarding the possible RFP late last year, and at no time was the Cowlitz landfill mentioned. The process in Cowlitz County has not been stopped. It has been delayed until June 2021. Cowlitz County has given their staff until June 2021 to correct the management problems that exist at the landfill. My understanding is that it will be difficult for them to correct the problems because they don't have the expertise or the access to the solid waste, the waste stream necessary to make the landfill work correctly. The Department of Ecology Clean Air Rule is also going to be reviewed by the Washington State Supreme Court this year. If that rule is upheld in the county, we'll have no other option than to continue negotiating with the private company to manage their landfill, because they will be looking at significant fines associated with their emissions, which will prevent them from paying the bonds without significant rate increases to their residents. And I got more, but I'll come back next week and finish.
Do you have,
Could we have a copy
can you
of that?
support that or not support that? Can you
There's a couple typos. I will fix them and then bring them up to staff.
Okay, great.
Sorry, I was rushed. I knew I was going to make 3 minutes, but I want to give you guys as much information as possibly could, because our values as a community are very high in regards to environment and waste. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Next is Mike Wright, followed by John Pettit.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Wright. I'm a 30-year resident of South Thurston County, out Bald Hills Way. I've been involved in code docket revisions about 20 years ago, so I'm somewhat familiar with the process. And I'd like to follow up on Mr. Kinney's query. I've submitted a packet for the staff and the commissioners that has the supporting documentation. I understand that Title 24 is on the official docket, and it is due for the 2018-2019 docket revision, and I really don't want to wait another 7 years to address the concerns, specifically the critical aquifer recharge areas. Now, I do know that amending the official docket can take place with the standard process that's outlined in your docketing memo that is posted online, so I won't review that. There are 4 sections in the county code that cite this short paragraph on biosolids. 2430.105, 24.25105, 24.10.080 that Ed referred to, and 24.20.085 again. And they refer to a memorandum of understanding. You'll see in the packet that I submitted a public records request to the county and was told there is no such memo of understanding in the record. And I submitted the same request to the state, and there's a response from the records request officer clerk that there is no such memorandum at Ecology. So whatever took place in the 2012 code revision, we don't know. We weren't here. We weren't involved. It's nobody's fault. It's just the way it is. I have discussed with staff that the understanding in general is that the state has preempted under the state preemption rule, and the RCW is cited in the packet. But that preemption is only for preempted facilities. Preempted facilities are defined in the same chapter heading under definitions, and I've included that definition as well. So land that has not already been granted a permit has not been preempted and is not covered by the state preemption. So the local jurisdiction, the county, does have some ability to limit or restrict or codify, particularly for the critical aquifer recharge areas, which is 67% of the county, and amend on the official docket the county's local authority to do so without state preemption. I'm not asking for an outright ban. That's already been tested in another county, and the state has weighed in and ruled against the county for an outright ban. But I do think it's worth the staff's time, the Board of Health's time, to look at adding it to the docket to, at the very least, update the biosolids provision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. John Pettit, followed by Terry Ballard.
Not that tall. Good afternoon. I'm John Pettit. I live out on Rich Road, and I appreciate being here, Commissioners. I hope that you all received a letter which I had emailed you in regards to an ongoing issue as to the Henderson shellfish area and the water protection. I received a letter, as I had noted in my letter to you, from your county manager. And quite honestly, to be surprised, I have to admit I'm not going to go through it a lot, but I'm surprised that the county would prefer to use data from 20 years plus ago as opposed to current times. Now, if I was just to, and I appreciate the fact that the county manager acknowledged that there doesn't appear to be any place that we have 14% failure rate on our septics. Unfortunately,
John, you address the board. Thank
14% of the failure rate has never existed. And let's go back to this one note on the letter which I received, which noted from 2007 to 2012, a 6-year time frame, 15 failures in a certain area. Well, at best case, when there's 50 tests per year and you're getting 2.5 results of negative, at most you have a 5%, and this is on the very worst systems for the dye test. The information I provided you is because we have problems with some wrongful direction the way the county has gone. One of the things which of course I object to is I object to the the element that there are certain areas of the Henderson Inlet that's being covered and charged money that has no business being charged. What I don't understand is under Article 4 of the code, which was effective November 14, 2017, which is a repeat from previous code, the health officer shall review the maps annually to update the boundary based on any new information obtained. If you're using 20-year-old information, you're not getting any new information. To give the commission bad information and make decisions to continue a funding process It's criminal. It's fraud. Any private
We're up
business
here, John.
sector
We're up here.
would, in fact, be taken to court and charged with fraud for giving bad information. You have thousands of people that are paying a fee every year for septic that shouldn't be paying. Now, I happen to be a friend of Mr. Ballard, and this kind of came forth through a different process I brought before you before. But I don't want to hear just someone come back up and say, well, it's true. Well, give me the hard facts. I have all the information, and it's clear this is a funding source, not a source about environmental concern. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Terry Ballard, followed by Jean. Is it Jean or Jeannie? Jean, okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Terry Ballard, and I reside in Tanglewilde and own 2 properties there. I'm a 35-year retired Army Master Sergeant, and I've spent 15 years in Thurston County. I'm a little bit perturbed by the manipulation of the data. This 14% has always been hitting me in the face. It's been said that we had a 14% failure rate, and then now we deter the attention onto something else. But let me deter the attention onto an ecology report of March 2006. It states, shoreline on-site sewer systems are another potential source of bacteria. A simple GIS analysis was used to estimate potential septic system loads to Henderson Inlet. They are 320 parcels directly adjacent to Henderson Inlet. Assuming an occupancy of 90%, I have no idea what that number is, 100% for the on-site sewer systems, 2.5 per household, and a failure rate of 14%. Now, in quotes, it says Thurston County PHSS and WWM 1999. Deter it off to dye test, deter it whatever. I was lied to, and this stuff was manipulated. And for an example of the dye test that it was deterred to, that was 19 to 21 years ago. Okay. And that was a 4-year coverage of 58 systems of 8 failures of a 14%. That doesn't equivalent to 14%. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, to finish that. Okay, to go on. I want to tell you all about Lot. Lot, it puts 95%, it gets rid of 95% of the pollutants. Okay? And out of these pollutants, okay, 9.5 million gallons a day gets pushed into Budd Inlet. 5% of that is 475,000 gallons pushed into Budd Inlet. The worst of the worst 5%. Another push is into the Budd Inlet Reclaimed Water Plant. That's 1.5 million a day, and that equivalates to about 75,000 gallons per day. Okay? The same goes for Martin Way Reclaimed Water Plant into Lots, Hawks Prairie, recharge basins into Lacey, Olympia, Woodland Creek groundwater recharge facility. As noted by my friend, #1 source is stormwater, but in Tanglewilde, we solved it with a $700,000 kicker. Okay? The next one is how many pollutants is 5%? How many pollutants is okay and acceptable? It's not my sewer, it's not my septic tank. It's between Lot and the stormwater, which is the ownership of the cities and the county, permitted through Department of Ecology to the cities. So you best take care of the business before you start harping on our sewer systems. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next is Jean Jarecki, followed by Jerry Durker.
Hi, Jean
Hi.
Jarecki, Yelm.
Will you bring the mic down for me? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your well-researched letter that you sent to Peter Lyons and the Department of Ecology to withdraw the determination of non-significance for the property in Yelm. It is clear that biosolids is a dangerous mix of sewage, pharmaceuticals, pathogens, heavy metals, industrial waste. Well, you know, it's toxic to the earth and to us. A different solution needs to happen. So for now, I'm in support with Mike Wright and Kenny to propose to, sorry, I lost it. A proposal to add a code revision to stop all new dumping of biosolids in Thurston County land. It would be irresponsible for that to happen and not to find a way to clean up our own waste. I have recently spoken with some friends from Switzerland. Their waste is incinerated. Their country has around 20 incinerators, each with a capacity of handling around 500,000 people's waste. Originally, everyone paid $1.50 for the incinerator. There are many other ideas out there. Japan is using microbes. A man and his team living in Cape Cod have come up with a solution by introducing biological organisms into holding tanks, which have created their own species and were able to neutralize the toxicity of the wastewater. I'll email you that information. But first, we have to stop the dumping to protect our land and water, people, and nature. I encourage you to put this moratorium in place, and then let's work on a plan to be responsible to deal with our waste. Thurston County can set a higher standard for Washington State and beyond. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, ma'am. Jerry?
Hi, my name is Jerry Durker. I live at
Can you bring the microphone up, Jerry?
Sorry.
Thank you. There, sir.
2826 Cooper Point Road, Northwest, Olympia, Washington, 98502. I come here today because of a couple of things that happened. One is that apparently the group of people that oppose the project and are trying to get the site of the Sunberg gravel mine that I showed here last week, trying to get that cleaned up. Well, the problem is the Department of Ecology's, that we found that we were infiltrated by an espionage from the Department of Ecology's Senior Assistant Attorney General, Laura Watson, using her husband, who tried to make us use Mr. David Bricklin as an attorney because her husband got him to do stuff for her, and she did settlements agreements with various people during the Cascade Poll thing with me. I mentioned that I had a conflict of interest with Mr. Bricklin, and I found out it was even worse. He runs Climate Solutions, and I've been beating beating him up in the state legislature and and on the initiative here for the last 6 or 7 years, because I know what's behind the initiative. It's actually to build small modular reactors, and she's also been the head of 36 subordinates, many of which have been fighting me over the Cascade Poll site in federal and state courts, taken and apparently tried to blacklist me and blackwash me in a number of other ways. And that's what he did here, too, when me and Arthur, he slammed us, and he slammed Walter Smith, who's an environmental attorney here, and Victor Meneres, who ran for prosecutor here. So in this letter, I'll give you copies of this, and the Attorney General's office at first concealed the fact that his wife was the Assistant Attorney General that did all these things, that had been fighting all these things, and he infiltrated our group along with a couple other people apparently, and who I've got eyes on. Sorry, I worked in intelligence in the Air Force, and I'm pretty good at this stuff. And so it was one of these things that I had to go to the Attorney General's office and actually get them to give me who his wife was, because she has a different name than him. And apparently we found out that Mr. Daniel Einstein actually has an AKA called Daniel Finstein or Feinstein. I'm not exactly sure how to say it, and stuff. And that he's been working with the port. He's been working with the state. He does a lot of things back and forth that create conflict of interest. And he never mentioned one conflict of interest that he had, but he mentioned every conflicts of interest that all sorts of other people had, including those attorneys, when they didn't. Thank you very much. And one other thing, they started trying to work on the site here this weekend, but I went up there and caught them, and they drove away so fast that I couldn't catch them. So
thank you, Jerry.
Have a good day.
Thank you. That exhausts the people that have signed up on the list. Is there anybody in the audience or the gallery that would like to address the commission? Anyone? There we go. Thank you. Moving on to item number 2 on the agenda, the county manager's update.
Thank you, commissioners. I'd like to follow up some of the public testimony you received last week. Let me begin with the testimony provided by Mr. Scott Bannister. And he provided some testimony related to the proposal that he submitted to you a couple of weeks ago for you to consider a resolution related to the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. I did have the opportunity to follow up with Mr. Bannister after the board meeting last Tuesday. And I explained to him that, in fact, you did consider his proposal and the proposed ordinance, and I encourage them to look at the video reporting of February 19 in the morning, where you discussed this proposal, and at that time, the board decided not to take any action on that. I just want to circle back that I did follow up with Mr. Bannister after the meeting last week.
Thank you for that.
Also, you received from public testimony from Mr. Pettit and Mr. Terry Ballard. And Mr. Pettit today made a reference of my response letter to him dated March 7th, which it was an attempt to respond to his comments related to the percentage failure on the septic systems. Mr. Pettit submitted this morning a response letter to my letter. It's dated March 12, 2019. And I made that available to you this morning. You have not been able to read that letter yet, and we will revisit this, the content of Mr. Pettit's letter of March 12, 2019, next Tuesday morning. Also, last week, Mr. Pettit made a reference to Ordinance 15514, and that is the ordinance in which the Henderson watershed protection fee was reenacted, which it took effect on January 1st, 2018. And I believe Mr. Pettit made a reference that perhaps it was the time frame in which this ordinance was in effect was not necessarily accurate based on the previous ordinance in which it was expired. So let me take you back to 2005. Back in 2005, the Board of Health, under Ordinance H3 2005, which was enacted on November 21st, 2005, made revisions to the sanitary code, creating the Henderson Watershed Protection Area. Followed to that ordinance, the Board of County Commissioners passed an ordinance number 13470, which created the rates and charges for the Henderson Watershed Protection Plan. And those rates and charges took effect on 2007. That particular ordinance was passed on November 21st, 2005. And that ordinance had a sunset date of all the rates and charges of December 31st, 2017. That is an important date. So by moving forward to 2017, early in the year, you consider the board considered the Henderson Watershed Protection Plan, considering it was going to be lapsing on December 31st, 2017. So in 2017, there were two ordinances. One is the Board of Health Ordinance number H3 2017, which was passed on November 14, 2017, which amended the sanitary code again to make some revisions to the to the Henderson Watershed Protection Plan. Follow to that, before that ordinance number 15514, and I believe that's the ordinance Mr. Pettit made a reference to last week, where the Board of County Commissioners increased the fees and continued with the fees, and that ordinance was passed on September 12, 2017, and it was taken effect on January 1st, 2018. So let me take you back just to connect the different ordinances. The first ordinance, 13470, which was enacted in 2005 for the rates and charges for the Henderson, had a sunset date of those charges of December 31st, 2017. Ordinance 15514 was passed on September 12, 2017. Those new charges will be taking effect January 1st, 2018. So I don't believe there is a gap on the ordinance, and I made some copies. If Mr. Pettit can state after the meeting, I can provide those copies of the ordinances and resolutions to you. While you were reviewing the issuance or the renew of the resolutions and ordinances related to the Henderson watershed plan, you look up to what is the effectiveness of this program. And you had a large conversation, I believe, through many different briefings. So let me give you a couple of excerpts of what the benefit of this program has been. Most of them has been related to water quality. Since 2005, the program has contributed to water quality improvements that have resulted on a net gain of 336 acres of commercial shellfish harvesting area on the Henderson Inlet. So that has been an improvement since 2005. Also, the 2017 Henderson Inlet fecal coliform total maximum daily load water quality effectiveness monitoring report states that significant declines in pollution and improvements in water quality have seen despite the increase in population within the Henderson area plan. So I'd just like to follow up on some of the public testimony. I believe we have been responsive to Mr. Pettit's comments. And again, you will review the recent letter that you received today from Mr. Pettit, and we'll follow up on a formal response to that letter.
All right, thank you.
The next item for you, as an update, I'd like to take you back as to some of the key meetings that you held this past week. On Tuesday, March 5th, a couple of commissioners, I believe Commissioner Edwards and Commissioner Menser, attended the League of Women's Voters, the Water for People and Water for Fish briefing. On Wednesday, March 6th, you also received a briefing from staff related to the 2009 interim Mazama Pocket Gophers review, and some of the suggestions that you will be considering this coming Tuesday as to how you would like to proceed in 2019. Also, on March 6th in the afternoon, you were invited to meet and greet to the new Port of Olympia Executive Director. And Thursday, March 7th, at 9:30 in the morning, you review the process for the comprehensive plan and code development docketing process. And that is something that might be coming up later in the month, where you will be reviewing the items to be included on the comprehensive plan and the development code docket process. That's all I have for you today.
Questions, comments?
No, sir.
All right, that takes us to item number 3 on the agenda, the consent items A through D. And is there a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to accept consent items A through D.
Accept and approve?
Accept and approve.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yep, carries. Agenda item number 4, Department items, emergency services, setting a public hearing. Kurt?
Good afternoon. I'm Kurt Harden, Director of Emergency Services for Thurston County. I'm coming before you to request the Board of County Commissioners set a public hearing on April 9th for public comments to be proposed for ambulance ordinance changes in Thurston County Title VI. The EMS Operations Committee, working under the Thurston County Code, is recommending the changes. The most significant recommendations to the ordinances are increasing the annual application fee from $20 to $100 for each company applying for on an annual basis. This application fee has not been changed since 1992. Increase the liability insurance requirements from $1 million to $2 million as recommended by the Thurston County Risk Management. And in the rare emergency circumstances when a paramedic must accompany a patient via private ambulance transport, Medic One is requiring the ambulance company to bill Medic One rather than the patient based on their respective published rate schedule and the reimbursement rate to be set according to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. This action falls within the Thurston County Strategic Plan Initiative 5, strengthening emergency medical services provided by countywide by Medic One and area hospitals. And we will utilize a public notice of the hearing that will be published in accordance with county policies and procedures. So subject to your questions, we're recommending that you set a public hearing.
Kurt, can you explain how the $100 application fee was arrived at?
Yes, we went back and we looked at a number of permit fees around the county. And as an example, a farmer's market application fee is $72. The mobile food unit annual permit fee is $165. The change of ownership applications are $220. The public water safe supply annual permit is $130. On-site sewage system site application fees are $480. There's several others as well. But we looked at this, and this application fee is applicable to one fee for all the ambulances that are provided by that private ambulance company. So if they have 7 or 70, it's just one application fee.
Did you also look outside the jurisdiction at other?
We looked at outside some of the other jurisdictions, but the challenge with Thurston County is our Medic One system is a countywide system. There's very few of those in the state. And so when we look at it, as an example, Pierce County, they don't have a countywide EMS levy system. So it's a different process. So we were trying to compare apples to apples when it came to permit process inside of Thurston County.
Yeah.
No, I guess I would say, though, that we went over this quite extensively in the past month or so. So that's why I don't think I have any questions to this day.
And this hasn't been updated in 27 years?
20 years.
Since 1992, correct.
Yeah.
Okay. And increasing it from $10 to $100, that $100 gets us closer to covering administrative costs, but doesn't cover it, does it?
It's hard to quantify administrative costs. That's why we went and looked at other permit fee processes, but it's hard to quantify, but we feel that it doesn't quite cover all the administrative costs.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Ready?
I would move to set a public hearing for Tuesday, April 9th, 2019 at 3 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be heard at the Thurston County Courthouse, Building 1, Room 280. To accept and consider public comment and review revisions to Thurston County Title VI Ambulance Ordinance.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Item number 5, Public Health and Social Services. Approval of an amendment to Washington State Department of Ecology. Art.
Good afternoon. I'm Art Starry. I'm the Environmental Health Division Director for Thurston County Public Health and Social Services. And the Department of Ecology is offering us an additional $40,000 for something called our Local Source Control Program. It's an agreement that was approved by the board last year, but this additional dollars, because of the dollar amount, actually requires you to approve the amendment. And so the contract would end the same time, which is at the end of of June of this year, but it would provide this additional funding for us. And what the local source control program is it's something that allows our staff to work with businesses that use and generate small quantities of hazardous waste to make sure that those are being managed properly. If you look at the history of different things around the community, managing hazardous waste works, it's important for a lot of reasons. One is to make sure, again, that it's not being something that's going to be spilled on the ground or disposed of improperly in stormwater, but also that we keep it out of our solid waste stream. And by doing all those sorts of things, we're helping to prevent pollution of Puget Sound. And so it's a priority. I think someone earlier in the presentation someone was talking earlier about stormwater being a high priority for pollution, for Puget Sound protection, so this helps deal with that. So what this does is it allows our staff to go and work with small businesses, again, to look at the way they're using hazardous materials and managing solid or hazardous materials to make sure it's being done properly. So we provide advice, we help them become familiar with the different rules that are in effect, whether it's Department of Ecology or ours, and make sure, again, that public health is being protected and that we're helping protect the environment. This helps a variety of county initiatives or strategic plan elements, number one, which has to deal with improving health outcomes for all. Number two, which helps improve community health, wellness, and safety, because again, especially dealing with hazardous materials, you don't want to touch them or have them be managed improperly. And it helps support environmental health and in particular within the community. So I'm asking you to approve the contract or the contract amendment and authorize our director to sign it. And should ecology come through with more money, to authorize any future amendments that are less than 25% additions.
I know this morning I asked you about the program kind of generally and its effectiveness, but I didn't ask you, this additional funding, is this motivated by, we sort of have additional need and more money became available, or did ecology, was this initiated by, they wanted to put more into this program? It's
both. And so what happens is there's additional work that we could be doing. As it turned out, ecology had some funds returned by some other folks, and so they were making it available to us. And so we're able to take advantage of that opportunity and do additional work with the staff that we currently have. And the end result is that it actually saves the county some money, because the other funding that would be used to pay for some of the staff work actually comes from tipping fees. And so it allows us to shift their work a little bit and take advantage of the state funding so we can save some county resources as well.
That's all I had.
Okay.
No, we had a good briefing this morning.
Okay, thank you.
We did. Art, you said this is for small businesses. Mm-hmm. How is that defined as small business?
If you look into the state laws, it has to do with how much waste they generate. And there's something called a small quantity generator, and it's determined by how many pounds or kilograms of waste they're likely to generate in a year. The bigger businesses, those are actually regulated by ecology. So this is for kind of that small to intermediate size business that, maybe a paint shop or an auto shop or something that kind of fits into that need that isn't regulated directly by ecology, and it's someone that we can help with. And so I think it's 220 pounds per year is the technical amount.
Okay. Because I asked this morning about the brewery.
Uh-huh.
Because it has toxic chemical that just leaked last week. And though it's not an operating business, it's owned by an individual probably doing business as, but they don't produce that kind of waste. So they wouldn't be considered a small business?
Yeah, they're not one that we would be fitting with this program, because this is intended to work for active businesses who are, again, doing something now. That's kind of a legacy problem that unfortunately someone did some unauthorized work to a transformer, and that resulted in that leak.
That's too bad. All right, thank you, sir. Ready?
I'm ready. I would move to approve amendment number 1 to the Department of Ecology Local Source Control Partnership Contract, providing additional funding of $40,000 for a revised total compensation of $160,000 for the period of January 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019, and authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign this amendment and future amendments that do not change the approved dollar amount or duration by more than 25%.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. I didn't hear you, did you?
I said aye.
Okay.
Yep.
You guys do it at the same time. I can't hear. All right. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay,
now,
thank you very
item
much.
number 6 on the agenda. Thank you, Art. Commissioners and county manager items. So we'll start with the commissioners. Do you have anything to report out?
Yes. Met the new port director, Sam Gibney, as I know, I think all three of us did. And it was a real pleasure meeting her, and she brings a lot of experience, and I'm real hopeful that we'll be good partners with the port on a bunch of new projects. I also attended, as was referenced, the League of Women Voters Water, More Water for Fish, whatever it was called, second piece of their 5-part series. This series has impressed me. The 3 speakers in this particular segment were Maya Bellin, the head of ecology, the George Walter, I believe his name is, from the Squally tribe, and then Mark Daly of the Thurston Regional Planning Council. All 3 did an excellent job of their pieces of the puzzle, especially Mr. Walter and Mr. Daly. I felt in particular, we'd had briefing from our staff about the Nisqually watershed plan, and they did a good job, but we had a really short time frame, as you recall. And Mr. Walter was able to describe certain aspects of that I hadn't totally comprehended prior to that, about the multiple layers of aquifer and how the deeper wells, how that requirement out in Yelm, or that idea out in Yelm, how that could restore water to the streams and the river, as well as actually adding water to the aquifer because of the hydrology of that area. So that was pretty useful. So anyway, that was a really good sequence, and the next piece of that program is coming right up, and it's going to be in Yelm at the community center, so folks should look out for that. Lastly, I went to the Community Farmland Trust annual dinner on Saturday, and Stephen Bramwell of the Washington State University Extension program was there talking about grain markets and what's being done across the region, really, not just Thurston County, to create local grain markets. And there was also a presentation on recommendations of this group to our chapter on agriculture for our comprehensive plan update. And I know that there were some really interesting ideas that they presented, and I know that's already been presented to our staff, and we'll go through Planning Commission, so I look forward to further consideration of those elements. That's what I had to report.
Okay, Gary?
Well, I attended some of those functions as well, and my main focus maybe was biosolids and water quality in general last week. And I would say I attended a very interesting group salmon enhancement group, I believe, on Friday with Commissioner Hutchings. Was that Friday?
Thursday night. Thursday evening.
Yeah, Thursday evening. Okay, the week starts running together. I'll let you report on that.
Well, tell us your experiences there.
Oh, it was a great presentation. Mr. Cook was the author of a book. I think you've got a signed copy, and
of course,
very interesting how we can use our modern situation, if you will, to deal with habitat recovery mainly. And the segment I'll refer to is the Sacramento River. We don't think about that very much, about salmon enhancement or salmon quality water down there. But they grow a lot of rice in that valley. That's not native to the area. But they've learned to divert some of the river into the rice paddies, and the small fry, after they hatch up the river, divert into the rice paddies. And those two ecosystems, if you will, blend, turn out a fat little fry fish, and he heads out to the ocean when they drain the rice paddies. And just you don't think about using something that's not a natural process. We always think of trying to get back. Well, we're probably not going to be able to give up the rice paddies because they grow 60% of the rice for the country or such. So it was fun to see how innovation can take place. We can make adjustments and still do recovery and work for our species that are threatened.
So the fish are already stuffed with rice.
They were fat when they went out to sea. They started out healthier and came back even bigger.
Well, thank you for reporting out on that, because I attended that. It was the South Puget Sound Salmon Enhancement Group. It was their annual meeting, and I had a double book, so I left right before Langdon Cook went on stage, and I was told he's a dynamic speaker, but I didn't get to hear it. hear him speak. That's why I purchased a book. The book that he wrote is called Upstream, Searching for Wild Salmon from River to Table. And not having, other than met him, shook his hand, visited for about 3 or 4 minutes, I'm into chapter 1, and I'm telling you, he's a talented and skilled writer. You can just feel and smell the air and the fresh and the water, and it's very, very good. I'm sorry I missed hearing him speak, though. But I'm not here to push his book, and I forgot to bring it from home to showcase it, but it's really good. And then yesterday, as most people in this community heard, that Johnson's Smokehouse and Sausage business burnt down. And so I went out yesterday and visited with Ron Johnson, his brother, and family. And I tell you, that family is grieving. They're going to be going through some really tough times now.
And about 30 employees or more.
Yeah, it's really heartbreaking. And so at least I shared our condolences and support of the family and their business. And that's all I have to report. County Manager.
Thank you again, Commissioners. Let me walk you through your combined schedule for this upcoming week. The items in my schedule are where at least 2 commissioners will be in attendance. You may have individual appointments on your individual calendars. Those will not be part of my report. Starting today at 3:30, you have your regular Board of Health meeting. Tomorrow, March 13, you have the opportunity to welcome new employees to the county. At noon, you have your monthly appointed directors luncheon that will give you the opportunity to connect with your appointed directors. In the afternoon, tomorrow, March 13, you have an invitation to attend a professional development training from the Washington State Association of Counties, and that is going to be located in the offices in downtown Olympia. Thursday, March 14th, you have a meeting scheduled with the county's Thurston County Superintendent, and that is your quarterly meeting where you have the opportunity to connect with the superintendents of the different school districts here in the county. At 10, March 14, you have your commissioners check-in, and I will provide an agenda for that meeting 24 hours in advance. Friday, you have at 8 a.m., you have the study meeting, and at noon, you have a luncheon with the Squaxin Island Travel Council, and that is, I believe that's the 3rd meeting that we have with the Travel Council, with the objective to strengthen the relationships that we have between the Board of County Commissioners and the Tribal Council. And also we're working on holding additional meetings with the Chehalis Tribe leadership as well as the Nisqually Tribe, and those dates are yet to be determined. And that will be the end of my report.
All right, thank you. And is there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, and we have to come back at 3:30, right? So we don't get to go very far.
Right.
Okay. I move to adjourn the Board of County Commissioner meetings of March 12th, 2019.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And we'll